On this Morasha podcast, we've got Mahinder, who talks to us about his experience in helping two Indian motorcyclists ride to London and back. Hi, Mahinder. Welcome to the Motorasha podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We've known, not many people know about you as to what you have done, but I believe you've been in this industry for a while. You've been able to service bikes, maintain bikes, and all the rest. So let me give you the opportunity yourself to introduce yourself, what you do, and then we'll get into the topic, which is a bit of an exciting and a surprising topic for everybody.
Okay. Well, firstly, I was into corporate company for almost 14 years and all. So, once I quit the job, I really had a lot of passion towards bikes. So, I recently started this service bay called as MW Performance, which is also the authorized Polaris sales and service for complete Karnataka. So, in here we get a lot of big bikes, all the fresh ones like, the KTM 690, the 1290, the Africa Twins, the GSS. That's the series of all the off-road vehicles from Polaris. It's in fact even the sales plus the service. So most of the people, the things which is coming right now during this pandemic was, the people have just parked the vehicles for a very long time. Got too much of complaints, rat repellents, this, that, rat bitten for ECU wirings, services not being done and all those things. So off late it's just, the bay is getting filled up. It's getting filled up, and we're also getting a little tied on to with a lot of work in hand. So it's based in Bangalore, and it's in Satanagar.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you can look into this Google thing as MW Performance, it will lead you to us.
Yeah. So I'm going to get right into the topic. The reason we heard about you was that you were part of a service and a pre-ride check of two gentlemen who had crossed the countries and had gone to London and back. And
one was Mr. King Richard, late King Richard, unfortunate incident about him, and one is Mr. Manjunath. So they were here probably for all the segments of whatever they wanted to do in terms of their overland expedition. So we basically guided them in terms of what to add, what not to add, what to carry, what not to carry, just to ease in their journey well. In terms of your gear, your motorcycle gear, plus your technical riding gear also. That also matters when you're trying to do a long distance ride. So plus we teach them in terms of what has to be taken care of during course of your journey, how to take care of the motorcycle and what to look in for in terms of emergencies. So that was a good experience. But before that, I did a complete prep for one gentleman by name Kumaresan, who is actually from Coimbatore. He was the first guy who went along with Manoj Keshwar and about 4-6 members. So we did pin to pin, including his complete technical gearing, because he was trying to cross from the hardest, where the temperature is the maximum, where to the temperature where there is minimum. So we supported him in terms of whatever technical riding wear was important to make his journey comfortable, plus his complete preparation of his bike, including his general check and oil change, servicing, shaft oil and everything. Pretty much pin to pin. So we see that when any customer who wants to go in for any kind of an overland expedition, we sit across them, explain them what has to be done, what shouldn't be done, and how much you need to carry. You really can't carry everything on a bike, If you're going for a 45-day trip, you really can't carry everything on your bike. There are things which you can reuse it, every now and then.
Okay.
So we guide them in these kinds of things, and plus we also help them out in terms of training. Before their ride starts, prior to that, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we just ask them to go through what all is required to do in case of an emergency when they're all alone. You really can't depend on an RSC in a remote area. So you need to work on the bike. So we really tell them, check into this, check if there is the bike is not cranking, what should be checked, what shouldn't be checked, and all those stuff. But it is an exciting thing to do.
Yeah.
Because you start your journey with them and the journey ends with them itself.
Yeah.
So that's what we require.
So if I was to ask you, if there's, so like I say, I come with a bike and I say, hey, listen, I'm gonna do this country. I'm gonna go to the 3 different countries. What are things that a person should be wary about, first for his bike? I mean, what all are the things that you tell them that these are the things that you need to be careful about, and these are the key rides, that it doesn't go down, you want to keep your bike running. I don't want to break it down. So what are I mean, I'm not going to ask you for everything.
Let's put it this way. So now, supposedly if you're trying to do some overland ride or somewhere, assuming it's going to be a long ride, probably like a month's ride or something like that. Now you need to carry a couple of things. One is your spares, your clothes, you change of your clothes, and other equipments like your small toolbox, your compression, air compressor, puncher kit, all those stuff. So we tell them what to use and where to store them in the first place, because you don't want to overload the vehicle in the first place. And we tell them, basically you get lockable top cases and side cases, panniers, which we can leave it in the bike itself. So those are cases where you can actually store all your general maintenance stuff on the motorcycle and other stuff, and to carry up all your riding gear or your your clothes or something like that, your clothes, your medicines, your emergency kit, or your whatever, the first aid kit and everything else. You can use this as a small duffel bag on the rear end of the tail seat. Exactly what happens here is when you're trying to check into a hotel or something like that, you can actually lock all those stuff, but only take the main essential, which is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a simple plug and play. You can come back next morning, get up, and just put your duffel bag and then start your journey again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the luggage part this is while the ride is happening. I mean, today's machines are pretty reliable. I mean, I can't think of adventure bikes in particular, Triumphs or W's, something going wrong. Is there? I mean, have you? I mean, I know that you must be knowing the things that can go wrong on a bike. What are those? Is there anything that you think can go wrong and you advise them?
Every bike has its own character. So basically, if you look at Triumph, all these Triumph or ESF or the KTMs, that's definitely meant to be taken to the extreme level. But when it comes to taking to the extreme level, there are certain wear and tears which do happen without our knowledge, like rim bends, potholes. You hit a hard pothole and the rim is bent and the air is off, totally off.
Yeah.
So what to do at those kinds of situations? It's unpredictable. So what we suggest people sometimes is, supposedly it's a tubeless rim, the spoke wheel, because everything comes under spoke wheel. Now you, on a Triumph Tiger, right now it's the advanced version, it's come in the cross spoke wheel, which is a tubeless again. Otherwise the earlier Tiger 800s and all was completely, with you. Yeah. So people, when they come into these kinds of incidents where they hit a pothole or something like that, and they have a rim bend, we always suggest them to carry the Himalayan front wheel tube. That's in case of emergency. So that at least you will not be stranded. You can go to another destination somewhere and then sort it out to whatever the heat treatment and then get back how much ever is possible. So that's one. And number two is checking the spokes. Tensioning and torquing is very, very important, because one of the spokes next to another, and it just goes on and finally you land up with completely a wobbled wheel, which you definitely don't want to. You need to make that your journey stop. So yeah, there are a lot of pretty much things like this, and then most of the people, they don't realize with that heavy riding technical boots what they wear. They'll be applying the brakes on the. They'll be they'll be planting their foot on the brake lever. So they don't realize it's the brake pads are getting worn out at the rear. They really don't realize that. And finally, once it heats up, the rotor, the brake does not apply.
Yeah.
So these are all certain things when they get stranded out. Because on those, if you look at all this Leh Ladakh kind of terrain, the dust is so fine-thin that even whether you're applying the brakes or not, your brake pads get worn out very fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is something which is very, very important. And of course, your chain loops and all those things is primarily very important. So what we suggest is once any person who is going to a destination A to B and then C, B to C, D and all those things, we tell them every time you start your bike, check for all those things. Air leakage, check the tire pressure, check the tension of the chain, if the chain is looped or not looped, check for a brake pad. Start the bike before checking everything and then go or proceed.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. People, they just want to continue the journey, and in that rush, they can't forget everything and they land up in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have had cases where there's this boy from Bangalore who rode from here till Leh Ladakh, and he called me from I think around 11 o'clock in the night, saying that his lights got off.
Mm-hmm.
What could be the problem? And that time, if you don't support them, that's where even they're also be stranded, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we tell them to do an electrical check to all the fuses. If the fuses are gone, nothing will work.
Yeah.
Right? All those small things. Yeah.
So you come back. Yeah. So you come back to if you're riding far, you should know your bike.
Yes.
You should be opening up things and checking.
Yes. You should know about your machine very crystal clear, because often you're seeing only people, all the gentlemen who are picking up the bikes, they're pretty much only good in terms of going for a Sunday ride and then coming back and then washing and everything.
Yeah.
But of course, that's a healthy lifestyle also to maintain the bike. But at the same time, when you're trying to do a longer distance ride, you should know pin to pin about your motorcycle.
Yeah.
Because it is you who's going to work on the bike. It won't be anybody else.
Yeah. So would you just if somebody would you just say I get a bike at home and I open the lights out of it, I open all the tire up, I open the calipers out, I open things that are required, and I understand that this is the kind of nut that goes here. Is that something that you would suggest to somebody before they go out?
I would definitely suggest to people to do their homework before getting into these kinds of things. But of course, now Google and YouTube are there to support any kind of a requirement needs in terms of emergency when we are not accessing.
Yeah, yeah. Now I had there's a lot of with the machines that we're having right now. I don't hear your engine going. There's something wrong with the engine. There's a lot of times that you hear that things apart from the just variables are going off. Or things like your steering cone has gone or it's become loose. Have you heard of stories where engines have conked off during these rides, or is there a maintenance that you do before they get?
Sometimes what happens, say like if you're staying up north somewhere, which is in the extreme peak of its summer, and people tend to use the motorcycles. Of course, they tend to use the motorcycles. It's not deniable. But what they forget to use is to check on the level of coolant. Okay. The coolant is a fluid is something which definitely helps in the improvement of the motorcycle. And if it's not available, definitely it's a disaster for the motorcycle.
Yeah.
So we had cases where there was a gentleman who rode a bike from here till I think Khardungla Pass, and then finally he realized there was no coolant in it. So what would be the solution next? How to keep the engine cool down? So we suggested him, just add some water.
Yeah.
Until you get to go to the next stop where you get a coolant, just refill it. But until then, if it's completely dry, add some water. What happens, extreme weather plus the high compression engine, it generates a lot of heat. Once that heat is generated, it becomes very difficult, or even for the machine to handle. Sometimes they just shut off. Totally they shut off.
Yeah.
So that's like the standard. You should know about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, certain things is very important is for the newcomers who want to do these kinds of rides. They should know to what terrain they're going, how to choose what tires to be used, what is the riding things, and how to manage the motorcycle when nobody is there with their help. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, yeah. So you've covered, going to, there's a lot of people who are doing Bangalore to the north, which I've always seen.
Yeah.
The guys who are doing, longer journeys, and again, I'm going to come back to the cross-country one that you had help with. What is the difference in a maintenance and a pre-ride check before they started for these guys and what is it for somebody who's just doing a 3-day ride or a 4-day ride? Is it very different, or do you think it's the same thing that I need to?
It is totally different. It's a totally different. See, I think let's put it this way: if it's a weekend ride or something, somebody wants to go on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Mm.
All they do is this one fine day they'll just go to the fuel stop and fill it up, and then next morning they shoot off.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have realized what is the air pressure or something. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
For them, it's just nearest destination, probably 150 kilometers, and then come back to the workplace after 2 days or something like that. But it's not the case like how you do a 10-day ride or a 12-day ride. You need to be mentally prepared because riding takes a lot of toll on your health too. It's just not. There are people who do night rides. There are people. There's a lot of equations in terms of these kinds of categories. But somebody who's preparing for the best of his ride for about 15-20 days, he has to be mentally fit. And, you really can't put somebody who's on a weekend ride, let's do it for a 10-day. No. There are people who are stretched it, but then I really don't recommend those kinds of things. You understand everything, the route, what you're taking, the terrain, what you're taking, your motorcycle, how it is. Your pre-ride check will definitely help you a lot in terms of knowing your motorcycle well, because you'll be the person who will be, if something goes wrong, you'll be the guy who will be able to do it. So you'll always carry a small spare, a fuse or a brake pad or something like that. Yeah. And you should know how to, how to replace it, how to repair it, all those things. Inspirations like this comes when you actually look into all these Dakar events, especially not the sponsored riders, especially when you do the Malemoto event. Morning to evening you have the sand dune riding for 400-500 kilometers, and finally you come back, you prep your bike so that the next morning you're about to fit for the ride. That's the kind of things which goes on. But yes, of course, whether you go in for a weekend ride or you go in for a 10-day ride, it's mandatory that you do a pre-check for everything.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's the bike which will take you to the destination and whatever the direction you choose.
Yeah.
But you should know how to keep it well, na?
Yeah.
So there are people who use it. There are people who abuse it, but at the same time they maintain it. So that it shouldn't. I've seen people who have done 1,000 kilometers in a day. I've seen people who have done a lakh of kilometers in a very short span of time. But yes, they have maintained it in such a way that yes, it is. It can go beyond. Yeah. There's no peace to it.
So very interesting thought that you've brought about was the Dakar guys, the Malemoto guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Ashish Rane.
Ashish is part of our Adventure Riders group, and when he participated, that was the most inspiring thing because it is very very difficult for anybody to get into that kind of a category where you're all alone. You do yourself. You prepare your own bike. You have your own meal. And, you're on for this. But it's just that if it's a sponsored factory racing team like ATMC, all you need to do is crash the bike and come back and they're willing to give you another bike. In this case, it's not that way.
Yeah. So I was having a chat with him while he was doing his daily thing at the bivouac. And what you were saying about these guys doing, it's hard work. And there was an instance where he was showing the maintenance schedule for his bike, and it's oil change,
very, very important.
Oil change, air filter, everything has to be done on a daily basis. After you've ridden for those, 8 to 10 hours, you come back at 6 and then you do, it's 3 hours and 4 hours of working on your bike every day for 10 to 12 days, and then next morning you're back again. I get it. So you're right. I think those are the things it's a very good learning for a lot of people who are doing even, 10-day or 15-day rides in India as well. I mean, there's nothing. So if I was to ask you, I mean, I know that's a little more, you need that kind of maintenance on a bike that is doing, you're bashing that bike so much. Mm-hmm. What are the things that you would have advised to, Manjunath or somebody who's doing, in the morning you wake up, hey, listen, make sure that you check these 4-5 things every day for the next 15 days or 40 days. What are the things you would tell them? What are the 3 things you would always tell them?
Level of engine oil.
Mm-hmm.
That's something which most of the people ignore it.
Mm.
And supposedly if you're going to extreme conditions where the heat is exorbitant, the oil tends to go, liquidize and this evaporates. So there will be always cases where the level of oil is less, it's blacked out,
Yeah.
and you just shoot off riding. It's not about just ride. The preparation for your ride to make your ride memorable. That's important, very, very important. And if I was supposed to give any kind of a tips to anybody, probably I would tell them to do your pre-check, check your tire pressure, check your spokes, because mostly all these adventure bikes are the ones which goes to the next level of overland expeditions. So we tell them, check all this, all your lubrications, your dry shaft, everything, pin to pin, before your ride. It's very, very important.
Yeah.
Some people are only here, they only bought bikes to just deck it up.
Yeah,
I'm also one of those categories.
Oh, yeah.
Just bought the bike and just decked it up. Then I realized, what the hell, where I'm not even riding the motorcycle at all.
Yeah.
But yes, whether I ride the bike or not, I will ensure that once in a while I'll just go through the entire pre-check so that it's up and running. So if there is an 11th hour call of let's go for a ride, I shouldn't say that, sorry, my bike is in the workshop. No, that's not the answer.
Yeah.
You're good to go, you're good to go.
Yeah.
So 90% of the people who would want to do these kinds of 10-day, 15-day rides, they would want to start it early in the mornings or late in the evening or something like that. They're looking at their comfort zone. At that time also we suggest them, what to use, what sort of lights to use, how much you need to, push yourself to standard, just live it, do it the next day. But some people want to do this dawn to dusk ride, the whole 2 or 6 tickets in the morning and all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
We guide them, just go on their own safety.
Yeah. So,
of course, at the end of the day, it's the rider who matters a lot to us.
Yeah. So you've covered a lot. We've covered a lot about, the motorcycle, the person, the fatigue, the service part of it, every day what I need to check. I want to quickly get on to the kind of gear that people should be wearing. Just simple basic things. Like I know everybody wants to have an all-season gear so it lasts summer, winter.
See, one drawback in India is, whatever the spec of riding gear, the technical riding gear, the top of the line. See, for example, Ruka has got one. There is the Climb has got Badlands. I mean, there are varieties of brands which is there in the market, flooded in the market, right?
Yeah.
What they don't understand is, not every riding gear suits the country.
Yeah.
For example, a heavy gear with a lot of D3 armor is definitely not meant for India.
Yeah.
We're not staying in that extreme cold area, right? We're staying in a season where it even rains, even if summers is there, you need everything all together. So look at your comfort zone. So most of the people, the guys who want to do rides, they prefer something which is completely like waterproof, Gore-Tex. They want to ride. Especially the riding season starts from June, July, August. That's where the monsoon hits in, and they just want to start the bike, get it dirty, but ride to a beautiful destination wherever it is. In this journey, they definitely want a gear which is completely waterproof, because you don't want to get yourself soaked and the next day you want to wear the same wet sock or a wet pant or a wet jacket, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So waterproof liners are okay. Sometimes it definitely helps you, but you can't expect 24 hours to be raining only and you will be still riding in the train in the heavy rain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It is, to some extent, if you're looking at summer rides, you can always looking for options of ventilated jackets and ventilated riding pants, which will be more breathable. And of course, you will not feel that the dehydration or fatigue or whatever it is. Plus, you have to understand during summers, there are two things. One is the heat, the extreme sun which is sitting onto your head. And the second thing is the engine heat, which hits to your kneecaps and other shrouds and other stuff.
Yeah.
So, keeping all this in mind, it's better to have a lighter gear during summers. And in monsoons, yes, you can always have a choice of the waterproof liners, waterproof jackets or something like that.
Yeah. Cool. I think you've covered most of what somebody should do and should take into consideration before they go for a big long journey. Is there anything that you want to add to this? And is there an advice or a tip that you think will help somebody make that, especially the first time. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people who do this on a day in day. I mean, I know a lot of guys who've done, in a year's time, 1 lakh kilometers on their
Yeah.
tractors and the BMW, GSs. But is there an advice or a tip that you think that will really help somebody, the newcomer?
The newcomer, what can I advise? Just be safe on road. Don't rush yourself.
Yeah, don't get into the challenge of doing.
Yeah, don't do that because you need to enjoy your drive or ride to that destination. So don't make it a pressurized one in your mind. Oh, I need to reach there. I need to reach there. Take your own sweet time.
Yeah.
Enjoy the view. Enjoy the ride. Because when you ride, it is just you, the motorcycle, and the connect. That's it.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's what it matters. The wind in your helmet is what it matters a lot. It's not about whom you're, because I'm seeing all these youngsters right now, they're up to this road rage racing. They start talking. That's all fair enough. But there is a time when it comes when you definitely want to have that matured sense of pride.
Yeah.
Yes. Obtained only if you get into an adventure bike. Because that's where the level of maturity goes better and better. It gets refined. Your riding becomes very refined. So that you can ride for years and years together. So my advice to newcomers is don't push yourself. So definitely don't push your limits.
Yeah.
Just know what your limits are and then be in that pace.
Yeah.
Because you see every Saturdays and Sundays, all these fun rides, all these bikers go. You see a lot of, because of one biker's death, there's a lot of bad mouthing in the community of biking.
Yeah.
That can happen. So somebody is waiting at home. So think about that also, no?
Yeah. Sure, man. I think, Mahendra, you've covered almost everything. I'm really...
pretty much whatever I wanted to tell you in terms of the call, it just went through the flow. So if anything is missed or if I said something wrong, then I apologize on that.
No. I think there's a lot of knowledge to be shared, and I think your experience probably will come in handy to a lot more people also. So yeah, thank you so much to be on this podcast. And let's see you on the road sometime soon.
Sure.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. I want to hear your stories, your motorcycle experiences, what you've been doing, and how motorcycles have made your life better. So if you have something to say, DM us on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to get you on this podcast.